Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I'm going to be talking about tabletop role-playing game core rulebooks that have come out in 2017. So, 2017 tabletop role-playing game core rulebooks. Now, the reason why I'm going to take the time to talk about this is right now, the internet is such an awesome place, right? But one of the things that I'm talking about today, I have not been able to find anywhere. Right, so what I would really like is a very consistent, well-organized list on the internet anywhere that said, here's all the tabletop role-playing game core rulebooks, and here's when they came out. Right now, I know this is a big ask because the tabletop role-playing games are incredibly fun to make, and so people make them constantly, like just all the time, right? And honestly, tabletop role-playing games are not in a highly lucrative field. Anybody who designs them will tell you that, right? So, so there is news journalism coverage of tabletop role-playing games, but it's not very strong. Probably the best is ICV, right? And most of the news for tabletop role-playing games comes really from advertising. It's really just advertising, right? And so one of the things I'm trying to do is I'm trying to be able to have one central source where you can go and you can see all the new tabletop role-playing game core rulebooks that come out. So why am I talking about just tabletop role-playing game core rulebooks? Well, there's a really big reason for that, and that is tabletop role-playing game rulebooks are by far the best value in the tabletop role-playing game hobby. When a core rulebook comes out, you will get essentially, you will get new art, a new world, a new rules approach, right? You'll see how that company approaches promoting their game, how they publish it, formatting, layout, all of that. It's all brand new, and it's all a new experiment, and also it's where the vast majority of resources go in tabletop role-playing games. Virtually every single designer in the trade understands that when you bring a new tabletop role-playing game core rulebook, you really need to put your time, effort, blood, sweat, and tears into that thing, and so I feel like they're generally better than setting or source books. Okay, so I'm about to give the list, but I want to give the criteria I used. So here's the criteria: one book. You buy one book, and you have everything you need to then play. Okay. The only exception to this is a Dungeons and Dragons exception, which would be if somebody actually breaks it into it could be up to 3 books if it's PHB, DMG, Monster, MM model, right? Player, Game Master, Bestiary. You can go down that road. What is not on this list is no setting books, no source books, okay? Because in my opinion, a setting book is a source book, right? No campaign guides. So, like for instance, Matt Mercer's new book, for D&D 5e is not on this list. Predation, a great new setting book for a great system cipher, is not on this list, okay? And then the last thing is, you can buy this book in print at 1 or more US FLGSs. Okay, so every single book that I'm about to list, that it is the case for that. All right, and also I am keeping a list, and actually when I get it all up and done, I'll actually post a note on this video on where you can see my list that I'm going to keep going forward on. Hey, here's a new core rule book. Here's a new tabletop role-playing game core rule book that meets this criteria. Okay, so here's the list. Number 1. By the way, these are in the order of excitement that I have for these games. Number 1 is Blades in the Dark. John Harper, absolutely brilliant. I think he's the best designer on the market today. He is just, I can't say enough about that guy. Yeah, Blades in the Dark is an absolute beast of a tabletop or a role-playing game core rulebook. It is all in black and white, and it is, and basically that game tells stories in a magical Victorian thief world. That's the best way to say it. Duskfall is the main setting there. Number two, man, check this out. Tales of Equestria. It is a great new tabletop role-playing game for My Little Pony. I do not own it. I was fortunate to be able to sit down and and look through the entire book. It is beautifully made. There are two different versions. There's a boxed version that comes with a lot of dice and things like that. But there's a traditional, same size as the PHP hardback. It's actually only like It's only $35. It is fantastic. If you're a tabletop role-playing game fan, I would pick this up because I really feel like this is something really different. Even if you don't intend to play it, I feel like any serious fan should have this in their collection. I have requested it for Christmas from my family. I'm really excited about it. It really is a fantastic, gorgeous-looking game. All right. Number 3 is a big one. It's an important one from an industry perspective, and that is Starfinder, which is Paizo Games' follow-up to Pathfinder. It's the essentially sci-fi Pathfinder, and of course, Pathfinder is Dungeons and Dragons clone. Many people call it D&D 3.75. I do believe that is the most accurate description of it. And so it's a 530-page book. It is beautifully done, really, really fantastic from that perspective. The game has some other problems. By the way, I will say this. The physical book they did an incredible job on I think they did an incredible job on the world. They did an incredible job on the physical book itself. I have some questions about the rule set. I think they could have made some different choices there. But overall, it is what it is. By the way, the PDF for Starfinder is available for $9.99, and that's how I got my copy. It is that is incredible value. It's 530 pages long, and I will say right now, it's most likely I'll probably never run that game. But I was super happy with the purchase of that PDF, and just reading the races, the classes, their approach to the world itself was very, very interesting. So that's a really good value, that book for the PDF for $9.99, in my opinion. Number 4, Star Trek Adventures. All right, Star Trek Adventures is a new attempt to do a Star Trek tabletop role-playing game. Decipher did the last one, and before that, FASA did Star Trek. So this is at least the 3rd attempt to do a Star Trek tabletop role-playing game book. It's really very interesting. It's a very interesting book. And they took it very seriously and tried to do a really good job with it. One thing I do want to call out for Star Trek, the tabletop role-playing game, Star Trek Adventures, that's actually the correct title, is one thing that's very interesting about that book, in my opinion, is specifically, it is being put out by a company called Modiphius, and those guys are just knocking it out of the park left and right. Modiphius has stepped into the tabletop role-playing game industry very strongly. They've been there for a while, but they've continuously upped their game, and their profile is very high right now. And so I really feel that Modiphius has reached a point where they are very true competitors with Paizo, with the top companies in the game. Wizards of the Coast, Paizo, Monte Cook Games. Those are the big dogs right now. Evil Hat, I would throw them in the ring. And Modiphius is really coming up. Some of their other games are Conan the Barbarian, Mutant Year Zero. There's quite a few of them. They also have, I think they have the Corvus Bell tabletop role-playing game. They are really coming up, and their books look gorgeous. And by the way, they are an international company that is putting out very, very strong U.S.-friendly content with a few exceptions. Mutant Year Zero has some aspects in that game that I think might be a little dicey if you're a U.S. citizen, just as far as how they approach certain things within that book. But it's pretty interesting. The next one is the Index Card role-playing game. The Index Card role-playing game is really different. It has these pictures on index cards that allow you to move through a game by visual prompts. Very, very interesting game. And it's on my list to get. I would like to know more about it. That's really all I know right now. And I from everything I've seen, it's probably one of the more innovative games on this list. It really does some things that other games don't do as far as how players would actually play the game and how game masters would actually run the game. Last is Pugmire. Pugmire is a very, very interesting game. Pugmire is specifically a tabletop role-playing game that talks about dogs. So all of your characters are dogs, okay? Now, that does sound exciting, and I was pretty excited. I followed this one very, very carefully for a long time, and I was fortunate to get an early access copy of the game, so not, its finished product. And my interest kind of waned. And the reason why is it is about dogs. So if you want to play a dog as a character, that's what it's for. So you can play a Doberman or a Dachshund who is humanoid size, walks upright, all that kind of thing. It's got some strange things in the game. So one, there's kind of an overall analogy of like man is no longer in the picture, but man is the dog's god. And I thought that was really kind of a strange aspect of the game, and I'm not really sure what they were trying to accomplish with that. And I think that game, that specific aspect of the game might actually repel more people from the game than actually attract people to the game. I thought that was a little bit strange, just the way they approached that. And then also the other thing is, Pugmire has a problem that I think a few of the games on here had with Starfinder and Pugmire. They really look like very, very 80s style rule sets, which, if you know me, I'm always really looking for games to be to play fast. It's very important to me, and I think Pugmire and Starfinder are the ones on this list that are farthest away from being even capable of doing that. And so that is 6. So there's currently 6 of them. That's Blades in the Dark, Tales of Equestria, and then also Starfinder, the Star Trek Adventures game, the Index card role-playing game, and last is Pugmire. And those are the tabletop role-playing game core rulebooks that have come out in 2017. Each one of these represents a distinctly new world that you can play in with a distinctly new rule set. And if you purchase one of these books, you're holding the whole ball of wax. You have everything you need to run. And that's pretty exciting. Take care, everybody.